Just waiting outside the superstore. We're using taxis at the moment. We're not quite as well organised, so we ended up at the shop without masks. Not that I was necessarily wearing any, but Anna's gone in with a scarf around her face, waiting for her, and then we'll get another taxi back to the place that we're staying at for tonight. The car has gone in for repairs. I don't know what the deal is on that, but I'll keep you posted. I want to thank Marika for sending us some money. That's very kind of you. Thank you. We'll all go towing the car and fetching. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We're all good, and Alexander's happy, most importantly, and things are moving forward. So, how about my hair? We went down to the beachfront, and it's blowing a gale down there. Gotta go. That's what I wanted to say. Actually, I only picked up the camera to. Hold on. It's easy. Here I am. Huh? Oh, you want to go for a week? Come with me. Excuse me. That was what I want to say, is that these three police dudes come past us, and while we're waiting for the taxi, and we're not wearing the mask, and they are, and they look at us a little bit kind of awkwardly, and they wander on. I'm thinking these guys are wanting to talk to us about this, but in the few minutes that passed, this group of 10 black youngsters, no older than 18, I suppose, 20, something like that, maybe a bit younger, come up the stairs from the beach, and they tell them right off, and they're writing out papers for them for not having covered up their face. It's just crazy. And the taxi was there, and I have to say, on another day I would have felt compelled to have a word with them about that, man, because it's just not right. Of course they wouldn't want me interfering with their revenue collection attempts and their fear thing, but do they really believe it? The guy I spoke to the other day, senior police dude, did not. So such is the indoctrination that I think sometimes people fear that I'm somehow trying to hoax them and trick them into doing something that they're not allowed to do, i.e. breathe freely. That it's even a question in people's minds. Speaks to him of super indoctrination. Look at that, children queuing up to get in. It's just madness. Hey, quick one. Morning, it's early. It's a moving day. We don't have accommodation secured, but Nico has offered to rent us his school space, which has a bedroom and so on. So we might end up there, but I just want to make a quick thank you to some people who've been moved by our efforts lately. Bob from Globebusters, and today Irene from Canada sent us some support. I really appreciate that. And Vivian, who's in Australia, and I think from her surname is perhaps African lady. So Vivian, thank you very much for sending that. She wants to help the street people a bit and help us do what we're doing with them, and we'll continue doing that. And I mentioned that she's an African lady because it's important to me that people across the entire spectrum of our community are connecting to what we're doing. And so I'm glad this resonates with you, Vivian, and for anyone else who wants to support us, there is the PayPal Trinities at gmail.com. We have a UK and South African bank account. If you want details, trinityforman at gmail.com. We don't know yet what the car is going to cost to get repaired. They are replacing the radiator, but that's going to be done only on Monday. Today being Friday, bank holiday here, and interestingly, the Masters, who should not be, have shut all the beaches here in Durban.
for probably 100 kilometers, maybe a bit less than that, maybe 50 or 60, I'm not sure, but it's incredible. Everyone's come to the beach for their little holiday break, and now they can't actually go on the beach.
It's a long weekend here.
It's a long weekend.
Yeah, it's apparently due to an E. coli issue in the water, although it's been tested by the local municipality and they said the water is fine. The government has decided that they're not going to open the beaches, which means people can't enjoy the beach and nature like they would normally.
Are they trying to create an uprising? Are they just trying to? Apparently there's some sort of protest on Monday in Durban, which is being sort of arranged by the more military element of the African National Congress here, which is called, I think it's the EFF.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But I just want to also say thank you to Marika. My dear friend Marika, one of our supporters, but she's become a really good friend to me. Once again, sent us some financial support, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
It means a lot. And then we've got those little ones that come in every month. That they.
Call for
You know,
zero
for me,
and
it's less. Of course, it's about the money because it helps with the material way of life, but it's more the feeling of support and love, really, that those little bits mean, and that we're doing something that's important. Because what we can realize at the moment is that we're all feeding into this collective. So what are we feeding in? Are we feeding in love or fear or anger or whatever? And these little bits of support just show that people are really wanting that change and are supporting those people who are trying to put the right thing back into the collective. So we really appreciate it.
Well, and also it helps feel like it's not just me driving some sort of crazy agenda. There is genuinely good-hearted people who can feel that, and I'm sure there's more of you who would if you could, but I understand how everything is under the pinch at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. We've all got our little paths to walk, and I know everybody's got their challenges in some way, shape or form. I just want to tell you a little story about we had a guy referred to us who was Nick, who was pretty desperate. He's had 9 heart attacks.
45 years old.
In last year, ended up having a triple bypass. He hasn't been able to find work. He's stuck in Durban. He's from another province. He's stuck in Durban, pretty desperate.
No support.
We haven't met him physically. We've only spoken to him over the phone. But yesterday he had 12 hours before he had to get out of the property he was in and very little money. But people have are helping him out, and he still has this path to walk himself, and a long one, because I think his reliance on mainstream medicine, etc., and some of his trauma has to be confronted. But just by sending one little message out to some local people, I've had someone offer free breath work to help him with his mind, body, soul, and someone else offer a vegetable hamper, so that he's got healthy food to eat. So these are just wonderful gestures, and this is again this beautiful contribution back to the collective of our true nature, which is to be loving.
And also an example of how we're starting to build up a little network ourselves here, which will be useful to doing other outreach work and developing things here. But it's a long road, that's for sure. And I was seeing some of the Globe Live comments about people going out. Lee was talking about quite challenging now, because people are getting more entrenched in positions of pro or anti actions that are occurring in the world. So It's difficult that, and it's so hard because people are at some point, just a little bit of glue is still holding them to the original programming that we got. And for me, I think we have to get rid of all of it. We have to cut all of those ties. If we're educating children in a way that is still based in the theoretical dogma of Newtonian science and Darwinian claptrap, we're continuing the same, unwittingly continuing the same program of minimizing God, minimizing what we are here in this creation. So it's a tough walk, eh? It's
but
not,
the ego,
it's not easy.
the ego is fighting hard to keep us all connected to that matrix, and it's doing that through our conditioning. Whatever that conditioning is, it's different for everybody. Conditioning and trauma, and so that's why the inner work is so important, because that's how you detach. That's how you return to self, and self being, our loving awareness. And so, and that's hard. I'm walking that. That's the hard part, because we want to fix it on the outside, but really,
or have someone fix it for us in a way, but we've got to fix it ourselves. This lady I spoke to for 5 minutes or 10 minutes the other day, she was very moved by what I was saying, very excited by what I was saying, and she contacted us and said, I want you to start a school and educate at least my 4 children first.
which is it's very kind, because it's a sort of a compliment, but unfortunately at the moment we're not in the position to do that just right now, but
No.
we're all educating our children by our words and our actions.
Just like the adults need educating. You see, the difficulty is that the adults are not willing to let go of certain of their truths, certain of their beliefs, and it's like that's why flat Earth matters, because, or at least knowing that the Earth isn't a globe and all that, rock floating in space thing, because it begins to get to the heart of the depth of deception here and misdirection, and it'll always be connected to, well, you're not as special as actually the center of the universe. So yeah, it's the adults that actually, and I think that, having had some exchanges with Greg over in Italy, I think that really at the end of the day, most of us know that in order to have taken this journey, it's come with certain hurts, and even that we've taken this journey, it's like, okay, I'm still getting hurt because perhaps you haven't learned all of the things that you need to learn about yourself. And
I don't think it's only learning, I think it's unlearning. Because I really do think it's conditioning. I think we're between 0 and 7. We're conditioned, and also Dave and I are in the belief that we bring the sins of our father, through our
the sine wave,
and our vibration in our cells, and we're supposed to then heal that and change that for those that come after us. So, or for ourselves and for those who come after us. So you're even unknowingly carrying that programming, that trauma, and so it really is important that we change that. And then when we do, we can see the outside change, because at the moment the ego is in charge of this earth plane, and the ego needs to be only doing what it's supposed to do, and that is, if you're in danger, then it needs to protect you. Otherwise, the rest of the time it should be our loving selves, our natural selves that are self-governing, who are our masters.
Well, that's an important point, because this thing about being in fear is actually, the reason why we're traumatized. Because when you fear, and even if you fear that, oh, maybe I was mistaught, that trauma is something that constrains you. I lost my thread there. I'm
Well,
a bit tired.
it keeps you trapped. It definitely keeps you trapped. It keeps you trapped in your head. And as we know, government is
Mind trap.
you know, they're using the mind to keep us in the matrix, and really we are loving beings, and then we need to return to that. But to return to that fully, we have to heal. We have to unplug from all those programs and that conditioning, and I think that's the hardest part of this journey.
It is the hardest part of this journey.
We want a quick fix outside, but actually it's the inner work that needs to be done. Finding silence. I mean, how many of us can actually truly say we can go and find silence? That's really hard, because we have minds that are constantly...
Well, if I can talk about quickly mine, you know, when we were in the period between 2016 and 2018 perhaps, you know, we were going through like a whole lot of travails, because, well, I was stepping out of the system, I was falling out of favor with everyone I knew, I was becoming very alone, and I remember one day crying in the kitchen saying to you, no one's coming, I've got to do this on my own. And I spent a lot of time in that period, you know, just in I had been crushed down, and I spent quiet time, and I remember just, you know, sitting in the shower, squatting in the shower, just stretching and being quiet there for long periods of time. Forest walks and just lots of quiet time and humming maybe, but it was and you know, it's not like it's over that part of that journey, but I think the walk to humility and to being at the point of having to trust, just being in a trusting state, was, you know, had to be painful. And I think that's why a lot of people who you meet in the flat earth are people who are walking through that journey of pain, you know, or have done, and that's why they're able to see it. And actually why I think a lot of the African folks here who have been so much mistreated over the years, they too, because of that hardship, are much closer to these truths, and it's less difficult for them, less egoically difficult. I know obviously if they've been at university and so on, a lot of that connection is burnt through indoctrination.
We had an interesting taxi driver yesterday who was explaining that journey, that exact journey, where he decided to go inward and start meditating and, you know, connecting back to himself, and he's lost a lot of friends and family, and his life has changed, but he was smiling, and, you know, he was lit up, actually. He was a good energy to be around.
That was a good ride.
I think that's the point. Are you willing to be uncomfortable so that you can return back to home, really? Homeostasis, mind, body and soul, you know, we have to...
Yeah, because remember when I was 47, I took the DMT in 2015, and the second thing after I said, it's true, there's a God, I think the second thing I said is, I know nothing. Up until this point in my life, I knew nothing. And that is hard for people to want to say to themselves, you know. But the truth is that I was and am a reasonably intelligent dude, and you know, so when this was the hard thing for me, was that, you know, my friends from school who know me or knew me as well as anyone else could, and know my intellect, were unwilling at all to give my considerations any airtime, I was up really late last night. We got cancelled on the place we were going to stay in tonight, so I was up late trying to find somewhere else, and that's unusual for us. I'm pretty good getting to sleep by 9 o'clock. So I'm a bit tired this morning. Sorry about that. But you know, it's
Well, I think what you were trying to say is that you have to kind of take yourself back to the basics. We've met this guy.
strip it all back.
We've met this
That's
guy
it.
who said for him the basics is chopping wood and collecting water. And when you go back to chopping wood and collecting water, then you free your mind of all that other chatter. All those things that you think are important that aren't, and you go back to the basics. Go back to relearning. You go back to the unconditioned self, that's where you free yourself from the ego, really, because the ego is the one that wants to be defensive about, that I know everything. It's a protective mechanism, but it's a protective mechanism that's gone mad, and it's now in power, and that's what we're seeing.
And you know what? It exposes that. It exposes that people have a hidden sense of ego that they actually won't admit to themselves.
That's the hardest part, is admitting it to yourself.
Because they just somehow cannot get to that point where they go, shit, this guy knows something that I really don't know, or maybe something that I thought I knew is just it is just theology, and not real. So I can't prove it to myself, and they just won't step over that. Whereas I think that what I'm finding with the African folk here is that they look in my eyes and they can tell this is a sincere and honest man. So I will listen to him, and I know that there is something wrong, even though I don't know quite what's wrong. And I will listen to him, and I will hopefully go and do some more research.
A lot of those people have not had that schooling. They when they were school age, they weren't at school.
And he has a thought,
way.
Well, he has a thought then, actually, that actually what schooling does is it says, well, look, you weren't the best in class, so don't be telling me stuff now. You didn't go to university, so you didn't read those books during university time,
conditioning and trauma. If you think of your school years, I know some people learned to be the good people. I did that for some of the time, but your schooling is a major part of your conditioning.
Absolutely. And your education. And so, I've been and studied. I read these 10 books over the last 3 years, and then they gave me a piece of paper at the end which says I'd remembered it all correctly. Therefore, I'm smarter than you. I'm not going to tell you that I'm smarter than you, but in my head, I feel like I'm smarter than you. So don't you come tell me that you cannot measure curvature. What is the formula for curvature? No. You don't need to measure the formula. Just, I'm telling you, you cannot, there is curvature. Because I'm a pilot and I was told there was curvature and we have to fly around a bulge and all this sort of hoo-ha. So, that's a very complex mathematics. You can't work that out, which is why, and I've had pilots basically say the same, which is why you can't understand how we can fly on a globe in the way that we do. And it's that level of, obviously there's pilots that have come out and said the Earth is not a
But interestingly, at school, you're measured by that one stream of information and how you learn it and how you take it in, and that's deemed whether you're clever or stupid, which is why it is a form of conditioning, and some people are able to fit into it. We met at one of our Airbnbs the daughter who was 11. She was very proudly telling us that she is in a class, they call it the LEAP class, where there's 16 of them and they're in the elite class of her year group. And they're all the cleverest in the year. Now, someone has deemed them the cleverest according to one stream of testing, and they are the cleverest. And she even said, and we get privileges because we are the cleverest. So they are the ones that are allowed to use laptops, the rest of them aren't. There's this, so I'm the cleverest, so therefore I'm better than the others. And
I'm going to take that boastfulness into adulthood, and when I become the doctor and the lawyer and all of these other scientists people, then there is no way that you from the lower classes could come and tell me that I've been misled. No way. And these are the people who will be the captains of industry. They will be, the ones who, that's why I think that oftentimes these government officers are actually believing what they're saying. It's not like they're necessarily needing to mislead, because they read a book that said that this is what happens when that happens, and then this over there will occur. So it said so in the book, And that's what they're going by.
Well, and also I think
their
if you're
intellect.
in that conditioning, you tend to be more obedient. You tend to want to please. So there's a whole lot of other conditioning going on, which is why we are seeing the obedience that we have, because we've been conditioned to obedience. If I'm obedient, then I will belong and I will please, and so there's a whole lot of emotional stuff attached to obedience. So yeah, it's unlearning all of that and going back to our true self, and that's the tricky part, which is why we're seeing what we're seeing at the moment, because it's unplugging from all of that, and it's so complex. It's so in our neural pathways that people they don't even know it's going on. I mean, yesterday we were at a shopping area, and it honestly was like being in.
Yeah, I'll tag some pictures.
In some other world, we were literally in this program that was going on, and
people were looking at me funny.
And they were, everybody did everything that they were supposed to do without question.
And you see these guys, young black men, as well, just walking with the two hands together to the squirter of
or grabbing the sheet to clean their handle
of the trolley and stuff. It's like,
we stood out like sore thumbs, and it was so shocking, really, the experience, uncomfortable even for us, because it's like we were in another world, really.
But don't let any glober tell you can be brainwashed. You can't be brainwashed.
Yeah.
It is absolutely.
I have empathy, because I think this comes down again to our conditioning and our trauma, because people want to feel safe, and so and we don't want to feel safe in our own bodies, and trusting our true nature and our true self, which is our
we are God.
Christ self, yeah, exactly.
Look, we are God, right? This is how I see it, like in like the Russian doll thing, right down to small, then there's possibly smaller than we are within us, things that might see us as God in a way, but with that, I think we are God, and that in the same way as this earth, this universe, this egg that we're in is a self-cleaning system, so long as you treat it right, then your body is the same. Your body is the temple of God, and we are God. We were talking to, was it one of the Indian guys on the beach yesterday or somewhere about it. We are when we're harming, when we're harming. I think. Oh yeah. When we're harming someone and talking on causing injury to someone, we're injuring ourselves. We're injuring God. We're
well, and we're adding into the collective. I think we need to start remembering this, that we are part of a collective consciousness, and everything that we think and do and feel, we're putting it back in, and equally we're taking it out. So some of the things we're experiencing are not just ours, they're what the whole is experiencing. We are one. And I know this is also a phrase that's been kind of played with, because that's going to be the one word is going to be used to kind of move things forward, but we are, if we're a fractal of God, we're a fractal of the consciousness, then we are essentially connected, and what we're experiencing is connected. So we have a while we're in this meat suit, in this experience, we're individuals, and we have to take responsibility for our individual nature, but equally we are contributing back in.
Well, if you think about the yolk of the egg being where we are and what we contribute to, then you only need I guess it needs like a little nugget of little cancer to be allowed to spread, to cause the egg to go bad. And
the egg is already bad. And actually it needs our love, and our self-responsibility, mind, body, and soul, to clean that egg up. And if there's going to be any change, we have to do it individually, and then that causes the egg to get better.
Yeah, well, what if we're going through like a boiling process, you know, and that if your egg boils, because perhaps we're each our own universe, you know, and we're each in our own universal egg, but if your egg hard boils in a good or a negative vibratory state, you know, what sort of long-term implications does that have on the soul journey? I don't want to be negative about that. I really don't want to be in one of those people that says that, you know, if you don't do this, you don't do that, there's hell to pay for. I don't think that at all.
Like that,
you know, maybe because we think so in such short time spans, we don't realize that there's millions of years or billions of opportunities to get the egg boiled perfectly.
I think it's also just another opportunity then to give yourself a hard time if you're thinking that you're doing something bad.
Or attack thoughts on others.
And of course we must
attack thoughts on others.
Attack thoughts on others. We must remember that the ego it can morph, so it'll take on whatever you're thinking or labeling or whatever, and then use that shapeshift for that. And so we need to not be beating ourselves up about this. In fact, forgiveness.
Or even beating humanity.
Yeah, forgiveness is the most important thing right now. I think we have to let that stuff go, because it's my understanding that forgiveness is actually only something we experience here, because with God there's just love. You know, he doesn't need to forgive. It's us that need to forgive each other, because forgiveness means we're tethered to that emotional experience, and I'm walking that. So I'm not talking to people. I'm talking from my experience. That forgiveness is one of the most important things, and letting your light shine.
And because if you think about it, like long term, you know, in World War II, there would have been people in the 30s, late 30s, saying, "Hey, listen, we don't want war," and others saying, "Of course we have to protect ourselves from the nasty Adolfo." So, I think we're in the same kind of thing, you know. Now, obviously not Germans, germs, and people are taking a stand on either side of a non-issue, a non-event, or just a created propaganda event, and it will happen. Let's think about it. Let's just say I hand out 5,000 flyers. Or you do something massive, and you get 100,000 views or whatever. The government's propaganda machine is getting millions of views per minute or a day. They've got billboards up everywhere here. Obviously all the media is constantly frightening people with numbers and cases and all these sorts of things. So, it's going to happen. And of course, also on the other side of that, the horror stories of, death and disability arising from getting poked. So this is only going to stoke the fuel of the flame of the fire that's been expected. So you can either choose to get into that fire, and that be your choice, or you can say, okay, I'm gonna stand and kind of watch the fire and tend it if I can and where I can, in terms of trying to inform people. But the truth is that once you're so far in there, you should or you shouldn't stab yourself. If you're in that debate, then that's already past the kind of gate of, hey, but we shouldn't be.
I think the debate is divisive, actually, because actually
a bit like the flat Earth, because it's still a Newtonian description of solid things and so on, rather than this electromagnetic.
Yeah, so that brings me to this thing that I'm finally kind of getting my head around, is that we're not the body. Obviously we are the body in this experience. We've been given a body to experience this earth plane experience, but we're not the body. We're this light within. Once the body passes, then we return to that consciousness, and we are the light. And whilst we identify with the body, then we identify with death. We identify with the horribleness of that experience. When we start to realize we're light bodies, or we're electromagnetic beings, or we're frequency, and we're not these bodies, then the whole vaccination thing should be a non-conversation for both sides. But they're keeping us in the body. They're keeping us in the, you know, in that experience. We're not. We shouldn't even participate in it.
Yeah, we shouldn't even use the V word, because I swear my views are in you know, in the doldrums at the moment, relatively speaking, and you know, it is what it is. I'm excited about doing more street work and getting, you know, the website and people driven to other sources of information. You know, here people don't have a lot of data to play with, so we got, you know, we are electromagnetic beings, and you know, our heart vibration, our love vibration, our contribution to the egg or eggs is you know, is needed, and it's needed not to be doing what the system says that we should be doing, which is to take a stance either side of the needle. We should be going beyond that and into the within, to the light.
Well, I think remembering that we are
trust and
light.
faith that and trust and faith that whatever's going to happen, you know, we need not worry. It's like what's coming was meant to come. It is an expression of the perversion of the status quo here. It is unpleasant as it is, but you know, you're a farmer and I've got a tree here that's kind of rotted out. I'm going to have to dig the whole thing out, kind of thing, you know. And that's just the nature of what it is. As much as we would love for people to go, oh yeah, we see it. We know that there's much more than simply going, oh yeah, I think I'm a little bit I'm uncertain about, you know, poking the arm, but it's much more than that, which is why even in the flat earth movement, you know, you find many people who are still, you know, playing that record rather than, wow, there's a library of other stuff relative to me that I need to absorb.
Well, and actually what I'm finding is that the amount of information out there is just, if you want to try and sift through it and understand what's true and what's not, you can be very distracted. And it just reminds me, while I was standing and listening, it reminds me of when I was giving birth to Alexander and I was in that sort of trance state, that I had this song playing in my head. I've mentioned this before, and that is, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Because at the end of the day, that's where we should be focusing. It doesn't mean we don't each individually have a role to play in what we're experiencing right now, but you know, when that light's shining, then you'll be guided to do whatever it is you need to do.
Yeah, that's right. So we should finish off, but I wanted to say this, that we heretically consider that the moment of your birth or your conception is the moment of the coming of the Christ light, and we know that semen is electrical, but so that's the first coming of the Christ, and dare I say, the second coming of the Christ is when you yourself are able to put aside all the sign or sin of this world, live in harmony and raise the Christ within yourself, and that, my friends, is the second coming.
Does that make the ego? Does that make the ego the Antichrist then?
Good question. I think. Well, the Vatican is an expression of ego. That's why they love all the guilt in you and golden stuff. But
it's not just them; it's all the others that are participating, but also in our minds. Hey, we have the ego, ego mind. So is that because you know
anything? Essentially anything. I mean, the term Antichrist is so loaded, right? But anything that's really against you
getting to your light,
coming to harmony and coming to your own light is really Antichrist. It's an antagonist. It's the thing that's holding you back. You can call it Satan if you like. And that holding you back is Antichrist. So any institution of man really is Antichrist, because none of them are giving you this information. None of them are saying, no, it needs to be. We need to help you find your way back to the light within. But maybe that's the game, is that you can only do it if you're willing to set aside the ego. I can't gift it to you yourself. Only you can set aside your ego, your Satan, your opponent.
Well, that's where you got to forgive, right? Because that's where you untether to forgive even those who do wrong to you.
And it's one of the lovely ironies about this game is that, you know, they frighten you with these images of Baphomet and the Antichrist and all this all of this sort of stuff, when actually it's all in you already. It's all within you, and you're exposed to these Antichrist energies all the time, whether it be through the media or any other means, right? So, you know, when you return to nature, you don't find that. When you're in the system, you find everything is pretty much against you, ever raising your own Christ light and shining it brightly in your space. So, you know, bear that in mind, and I think you should say goodbye.
And go and shine your light today.
Yeah.
In whatever way you can.
This little light of yours. No. Bye. Just maskful. It's gone crazy. Gone crazy. It's all gone crazy, my brother. Can I tell you that mask is not doing your health any good? The mask. There's plenty of evidence that the mask, breathing your stale air, is actually going to make your lungs weak. And the hand gel is going to make your body sick because it's toxins that your body has to drink now through your hand. So the mask, you meant it, God gave you the nose and the mouth to breathe freely, you know. This man mask is a deception. You know, there's no way that, there's no proof that I can make you sick, or you can get on a taxi tonight and if someone's sick, they're going to make you sick. That's never been proven. That's why they call it germ theory. Never been proven. And if you think about it, where's your air going? It's got to escape out somewhere and come in. There's no way we are making each other sick. We're going to make each other sick by fear and by wearing masks, which we shouldn't do. Yeah, you thought so? Yeah, you're keeping all the toxins in. No, breathe freely, man. Don't trust the government. Good luck, man. Cheers. I didn't want to film him on the spot, but you never know. Sometimes it helps.